Trixie, I love it. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the regular town council meeting of June 10th to order at 5 p.m. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call.
Oh, you're still alive. There you go.
Okay, we have the agenda in front of us. Are there any additions or deletions?
I have none, your worship, thank you.
Thank you. Would someone care to move the adoption of the agenda? Councillor Good.
I'll move the adoption of the agenda of the June 10th, 2024 regular council meeting as presented.
Thank you. All those in favor?
In favor.
He says he's keeping it off because he has poor reception.
Okay. Councillor Shannon said,
I said aye.
thank you. Okay, it is carried. Next, we have adoption of the minutes of the May 27th regular council meeting. So you've had a chance to read those. Are there any edits that should be made? Otherwise, I would look for a motion.
I'll move the council will adopt the minutes of May 27th, 2024 regular council meeting as presented.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
In favor.
It is carried. Thank you. We do not have any public hearings, nor do we have presentations. So now we're on to bylaw 2157, community services bylaw with Director Bell.
Thank you, your worship. The bylaw before you is the proposed new community services board bylaw number 2157. Council did review the proposed bylaw and provided first reading at their regular meeting on May 27th. The report before you is to recommend and request second and third reading of this bylaw.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions to clarify at this time? Someone care to put forth a motion in front of us? Councilor Ford.
Thank you, your worship. I put a motion on the floor that council gives second reading to bylaw 2157, community services bylaw as amended.
Thank you. Any discussion on that motion?
It's not as it is.
From version 1.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
In favor.
Great, it is carried. Would someone care to move us along with third reading? Councilor Good.
I'll move the council give third reading of bylaw number 2157 community service bylaw as amended.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Oh, pardon me. Yes,
Not as amended.
okay, skip as amended.
Okay, so we did as amended because something changed from the first one, but nothing has changed from the second reading, so we're good to go. Okay, so it's just bylaw 2157. Thank you, Mr. Good. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
In favor.
Great, it is carried. Bylaw is passed. Thank you, Director Bell. Okay, unfinished business. We do not have any. New business, we have Councillor Ford's June 3rd notice of motion.
Now,
And,
thank you to clarification your interest in.
oh, okay, thank you. And for this one, we have Mrs. Miller, CAO, to speak to the topic.
Sorry. Thank you, Worship. I'm just bringing forward the notice of motion that Councillor Ford made at the June 3rd meeting for council to discuss and give further direction to administration. The motion directed administration to bring the Apex security business proposal to the next council meeting for discussion.
Thank you. So council is going to be making a decision as to whether to direct him in to go forward with the process of bringing Apex Security business proposal to the next council meeting or to let the matter rest.
So your worship, I should say that it was, it's scheduled to come forward at the July meeting, and this motion is asking it to bring forward at the next meeting.
Okay, I guess one question I would put forth, does admin have enough time for the next meeting, June 24th, to bring the matter?
Administration can bring the proposals forward, but not, it's gonna be difficult to bring any recommendations or analysis towards that.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, so at this point in time, how do we phrase the next step here? Is it just to, Councillor Ford has moved that administration bring the Apex Security business proposal to the next council meeting for discussion, and he so moves that.
So it's, you vote on it and
And
it's
then we
either
vote.
passed or it's not.
Okay, so proposal. Okay, business proposal to the next council meeting for discussion. Okay, any further discussion on that one? Okay, so Councillor Ford is moving that motion, has moved that motion.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
When,
Did you call for a vote? Sorry.
I'm sorry?
I didn't hear if you called for a vote.
Not
No,
yet.
not yet.
Oh, okay.
So we're recognizing administration's comment about the difficulty. There's difficult and unable, which are basically two different situations. Is it, and I'm gonna ask you straightforward, do you believe that you can bring the information that would be required to make a proper decision by next meeting, or do you need the time, in your view, to bring a proper amount of information to council?
In my view, I could use the extra time to do a proper analysis on how we're gonna fund it. I can bring it forward and say, this is what it's gonna cost and what it would cost in the short term. But it's the considerations of what's the long-term ramifications of introducing. I wanted to have a conversation with the equivalents in Grand Prairie to have an opportunity to discuss the program and their feelings on it. So it would be, you know, a partial report on Monday coming forward. And I won't be here on Monday either. I am on vacation next week, so I won't be here to participate in that conversation either. It will be up to the acting director.
Councillor Carr.
I'd like to make a comment. I was talking to a local businessman in town, and he was commenting on how the theft is up 30 or 35% in the last couple months. So I realize it takes time, but I really think we need to move this along if we're gonna do it. Your CMP just can't keep up. And I mean, no, I don't need to put pressure on, but I think it needs to be said that it needs to be moved along.
So I'm just gonna reread this notice of motion because it says, council direct administration to bring the Apex Security business proposal to the next council meeting for discussion. So it's the business proposal, which is kind of general enough that we might not be getting the details if they're not available. So as admin has just indicated. Councilor, good.
Again, going on administration's comments, you could bring forward a proposal that would give something like the financial cost, if we proceeded what we're gonna be looking at in the short and long term, you could do that. So then, I'm not sure that we need, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure that we need a lot more than that to decide whether it's in the realm of proceeding. There's also the option at the next meeting, if we as council feel we have enough information to proceed, and if we feel that we don't, we can table it for the meeting after to wait for more information. So we can have a full discussion on the information that's presented. If we had it next week meeting, we can have a full discussion on all the information we have there and decide whether we have enough to proceed. There's nothing forcing us to jump force to go forward on what we would consider inadequate. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilors Boychuk and Deputy Mayor, do you have any questions at this point in time?
I agree with Dawn. I think if we had some information that we could, begin discussion on would be helpful.
And Councilor Boychuk, any questions at this point?
I just question that maybe there might be, after working with Apex here, there's different proposals that they could put together, and so, just. But I know how efficient they are, and I think we should have been on this months and months and months ago. So anything to move this forward, I'm definitely supporting behind.
Okay, so Councilor Ford, do you want to just reread your motion for everybody's?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, my motion that was put forward is that council direct administration to bring the Apex Security business proposal to the next council meeting for discussion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
In favor.
Any opposed? It is carried. Thank you. Just awaiting Councilor Scamahorn's time to return. Yes, indeed. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the development officer appointment, and Director Fisher is speaking to this, I believe.
That's.
Okay. Ms. Modi will be speaking to this.
It's been delegated.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm here before you because we need to establish or appoint a new development officer here at the town of Peace River. Susan Martineau, our longtime development officer, is retiring in a few weeks. And we need to make sure that we can keep those processes moving along. So we have hired a new staff person. We call her Toby, but her full name is Adebimpe Adeniyi. And we would also recommend that council formally appoint myself as a development officer, which means I'll also have signing authority on development permits and can keep those processes moving along so that we've got some dual coverage. Staff can go on vacation without things grinding to a halt, etc. So before you is a couple of options, but our recommendation is the council appoint both Toby and myself to the position of development officer pursuant to bylaws 1598 and 2124, which are the development authority bylaws that require that council makes this motion so that we can formally have development officer privilege.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions? Clarity? Would someone be prepared to put forth the motion then?
I can do that.
Okay, Deputy Mayor, I'll get to you. Councilor
Okay.
Ford, do you have a question?
Yeah, I read this over and I'm just relating it back to my work, but do you have to have a second person appointed in order to cover if that other person actually does the job is on holidays?
In order to make sure that we are following the legislation, yes, we should both be formally appointed by council. That is the way our bylaws are currently written. In the future, I'm hoping to change that as we go forward with our land use bylaw update. I'd like to bring forward a updated development authority bylaw as well that will make that process simpler. But the way things stand today, yes, we do need to do it formally.
So if one is away, there's somebody there. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, Deputy Mayor, you had a motion? Is that
Yes,
what
I
you-
move that council appoint Adebimpe Adeniyi and Alicia Modi to the position of development officer pursuant to bylaw numbers 1598 and 2124.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Boychuk?
Sorry, I got disconnected there, so I didn't quite hear the motion.
The motion is that council appoint Addie Bin Pei Adeni and Alicia Modi to the position of Development Officer pursuant to bylaw numbers 1598 and 2124.
I'm in favor.
Great. Okay, it is carried. Thank you, Ms. Modi. And next up, we have the topic of Mighty Peace Watershed Alliance Board Member nomination. And Mr. Fisher, you're up this time.
Good evening, your worship. Good evening, council. So in March or April, we made a motion to join the Mighty Peace Watershed Alliance. They're currently having their annual general meeting coming up. I think it's next week. And there's an opportunity for the town to seek a membership on the board for the small utility member. That somebody is hoping to step away, is my understanding, and take on an alternate role. So we're looking for a motion to and recommending that we get on that board if we can. It's a really powerful tool to have a voice as the town for upcoming policy directions and changes. And for that, we would be appointing Mary Manzer in her role as a member for the Mighty Peace Watershed Alliance to.
Thank you. So this is sort of well, it's a formality, but it's part of the process of taking or getting nominated for that urban municipality directorship on the Mighty Peace Watershed Alliance. And it just clarifies whether council is actually in support of the time that would be spent and so on. So that's the purpose of this one. Questions, Councillor Carr?
When we were on the Watershed Alliance before, we weren't actually a board member, is that correct?
I believe you were a board member. The town belonged to the Mighty Peace Watershed at the time that you were appointed and took the alternate position. Yeah, yeah. Because well, you can't be in this, the way they operate, you can't be a director or the alternate to the urban or rurals if you're not also part of the group.
Okay, so you were a director, then I was the alternate.
The director of Valley View was the director,
right,
and
nice.
you were his alternate. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So it's not from within the council they do the alternate. It's from within the small urban communities.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Would any further questions? Someone be prepared to make a motion?
I'll move the council support Mayor Manzer's nomination for the Small Urban Municipality Board of Director seat with Mighty Peace Watershed Alliance.
Thank you. Any further questions? All those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
In favor.
It is carried. Thank you, Mr. Fisher. And next up, we have Mr. Mumford, who's going to talk us through reserve policy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have before you this evening the reserve policy. We discussed it at the last GMP meeting. So just bringing it forward to see whether or not council approves of the changes and if we can get a recommendation to that effect. Again, it's discussed recently, but just to summarize, we're looking to bring our reserve structure in line with our general ledger structure. So how we're accounting for things, we're attempting to minimize and eliminate cross subsidization between taxpayer and utility customers. So we would be creating dedicated water, wastewater, storm sewer, and solid waste reserves. And within tax supported capital, we'd be creating separate reserves for buildings and engineered structures as one, and vehicles, machinery, and equipment as the other. Also, we'd be creating a disaster recovery program reserve and eliminating the mill rate stabilization reserve. So the options before council this evening are to approve the changes or to decline to approve the changes, at which point we would continue our work. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilors, any discussion, questions? So it basically simplifies some of the accounting procedures in the background for for admin, but council.
Yeah, well, it makes it so that if the water fund is generating a surplus to fund future capital replacements, it's specifically going to go for those purposes.
Thank you. Any further questions, discussion? Someone can put forth a motion. Councillor Ford?
Thank you, Your Worship. I put a motion on the floor that council approve the reserve policy P1225C as presented.
Thank you. Any further questions? Everybody's clear on the motion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
In favor?
It is carried. Thank you, Mr. Mugford. And you're still up on IT system improvements.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Last year, we engaged a third party to perform a network assessment to identify any areas of inefficiency, vulnerability, et cetera. We received a remediation report in August and began a plan to action those. So I wanted to highlight some of the changes that were done. We brought in a new VPN. So one of the major recommendations was that we should update our VPN. We were using an open source VPN, VPN and firewall. So we're using open source technology. It was older and causing some inefficiencies in the network and generally not best practice. So we upgraded to the industry leading 40 gate firewalls, replacing old firewalls, and as I say, increased speed, but also brings in industry leading security measures, protecting our network against potential threats. So we've also, through doing that, we've achieved increases in security encryption, and by upgrading the VPN, it's made it so that we can more easily access our network remotely. One of the other major, so in order to undertake that project, we decided to, about a year prematurely from what we were planning, migrate our phone technology to cloud-based phone service. So that was part of the reason. Initially, we were hoping to have the firewall project completed by the end of March. Took a little bit longer to get the phone system update done, but one of the big benefits in doing that was it made that VPN firewall conversion so much faster. So they were able to get that done in less time than it would have taken. If we had have deferred doing that until next year, then we would have had to duplicate those efforts. So that was one of the advantages of delaying it. Another item that we've started the process on, and we haven't finished it, but we've started to roll out multi-factor authentication for all of our Microsoft 365 users. We've already done a test group on that, and we're just in the process of just finalizing what we'll do for, in some instances, there may be employees that they don't have company issued cell phones, so we want them to, in the instance that they need to authenticate, have the required technology to be able to do that. So we're just getting that ready before we roll out the whole organization. And the other big item was ensuring that we have all of our files backed up using cloud-based systems. Previously, we had a server that we backed up on, but there's obviously anytime you have hardware that's in the same location, there's risks there. So we now have everything backed up using Azure. And yeah, the rest of this I'll let you read through and enjoy. If you have any specific questions, I'll likely need to take them away because IT isn't my area of expertise, but we do have IT staff that can assist me if you have any questions on anything this evening. Thank you.
So if the internet goes down, there's backups in place that it doesn't affect the town operations kind of thing too, or not? Do we know that? Because I understand today there was computer issues at the provincial building and some other businesses in town because of some power thing. Maybe Councillor Good.
I'll speak to that. if the quote internet goes down, nobody gets connected. It doesn't matter where. You can put in redundant systems to go to a where you go to a backup provider of basically a pipe, if you will. You can do that. It depends on what providers you have in town, but you also have to pay for them all the times that they're not being used to put in there. So they come at quite an expense. The majority of times the internet is down, they're for very short duration periods. When I read the work that was done here, I'm actually really impressed with the amount of work. And what they're talking about in the backup is the backup systems before for the town were not, how would you call it, as robust as you could possibly want, you could want. Right now, they've been put into a position where barring massive disaster, everything is recoverable. And I think the steps they've taken are quite impressive.
Great.
Thank you. Just one other comment. This does, once the MFA is done, that will have addressed all of the major items that were identified as part of that network assessment. So I think that's something, that our IT staff can be proud of, that we've, identified as many, again, you can never completely hedge against all of these risks. But I think we've done, as much as we reasonably can to protect the infrastructure.
Great. Any further discussion? Okay, would someone, Councillor Good perhaps be willing to put forth a motion here?
Second here.
Okay, I'll move that council accept the briefing note regarding the town's IT system improvement update for information.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
In favor.
It is carried. Thank you, Mr. Mugford, and thank you for the IT people in the background doing what they're doing
Thank you.
as well. Okay, next up, we have the Peace Regional Healthcare Attraction and Retention Committee members confirmation with Ms. Parsons.
Thank you, Mayor Manson. So this is really just a housekeeping item. Typically with our council boards and committees, we have council do a confirmation appointment. That's not something that is currently written into the terms of reference for this committee, but we thought as best practice, we would just bring this forward and operate like we typically do. So just looking for a confirmation from council for Mr. and I'm gonna have Mayor Mazza correct me if I get things wrong, Pradeep Nupane and Pam Schultz for appointment for the 3-year team to the Peace Regional Healthcare Attraction and Retention Committee.
I think you did it pretty good. So yes, it was great to have these two individuals step forward to be on our Healthcare Attraction Retention Committee. I think they'll add good discussion points from their views. Yes. So any further discussion on the idea? Would someone like to put forth a motion? Councillor Carr, we want two motions or one motion?
One each, please.
One each. Okay, first motion, Mr. Carr.
The council confirms appointment of Pradeep
Nupane.
and Pam Shippold to the Peace Regional's Healthcare Attraction and Retention Committee for a term of 3 years.
Okay, are you okay just to do the Nupane one as
Oh,
one
okay.
motion?
Yeah,
Okay.
certainly, sorry.
That's okay. All those in favor of the motion to appoint Pradeep Nupane to the Healthcare Committee?
Aye.
In favor.
It is carried. A second motion for Pam Shippold. Okay.
Move the council appoint Pam Skipple to the Peace Regional Healthcare Attraction Retention Committee effective May 2024 for a 3-year term.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
In favor.
Great, it is carried. Thank you, Ms. Parsons. Okay, next up, we have some reports. The first one is the two reports, May 1st and May 30th, North Peace Housing Foundation meeting synopsis. Councillor Carr, did you have any items you wanted to highlight within those?
Not really, but the only thing is in Manning, the construction is continuing on and running into a few issues, but apparently they've assigned or appointed a local contractor to basically be the guy in charge on site, and things seem to be moving along a little quicker and maybe a little more efficiently.
Great. I noticed several of the items that Heritage Tower Lodge, either there's no updates on cost or things are a little delayed. Are they kind of next in line for some of?
I know they've been talking about renovating there, but
Okay.
I haven't heard too much about costs.
Great. And another item I noticed is that the board directed the rent assistance benefit cap to be increased from $400 to $600 effective August 1 of 2024. What does that really do?
I found that interesting too, but I don't know. Dawn, if you, yeah, absolutely.
Councillor Good?
Yeah, but with the rate of inflation and the expenses that are coming in, the cap was not allowing us to help a group of people that could certainly use the help. And with the rent assistance benefit, it's flow through money from the province to the people that need it. So by raising the cap, we were able to assist those people better at no cost in the local terms at all. There's no cost because requisition doesn't cover social housing. So it's strictly as kind of an internal book working thing. Once we do that, we can help more people. And it's totally fine with the province that we do that.
And it's no more money out of somebody's pocket, yeah, individual pocket.
Not in
Not in that
terms of
sense.
requisition, because again, to be clear, the requisition only goes to seniors lodges. It does not go to any other North Peace housing functions, period.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions they want to bring up on North Peace Housing's reports? Okay, then next up, we have the May 14th Economic Development Committee meeting minutes and Deputy Mayor Shannon. Anything you want to?
I have nothing to add. That our chair just finished doing a presentation on that, so it was the last meeting was devoted to making a new work plan and kind of giving a bit of an orientation to the two new members.
Okay, thank you. I noticed in one of the items that the committee, I guess, discussed the forestry symposium that's taking place on June 26th and 27th at Chateau Nova. Basically, through the Peace Regional Economic Development Alliance. So it'd be good if anyone out in the business world is interested in attending to that as well. Any other questions though? Okay, would someone be prepared, or nope, we should carry on here first of all. June 2024 Community Rail Advocacy Alliance update. And essentially the CRAA committee, there's not much that's new. They keep advocating for cars and they're worried about a possible labor dispute with CN workers and border workers. So we hope that doesn't happen. That's really all I know about that one. But anybody have questions on that one? Okay, then, would someone be prepared to move that council accept reports 9.1 through 9.3 for information? Councillor Carr so moves. All those in favor?
Aye.
In favor.
Great, it is carried. Next up, we have council communication package of May 31st. You've had a chance to review that package. I note a couple of things. One, the World Religious Conference is asking if someone from council would be able to meet with them, but their dates seem a little different. It says June 24th of 2024, and it says Friday, which doesn't. Oh, wait, June 24th, I think is another day besides Friday, but yeah. So anyways, not quite sure if it's a Friday or Monday that they're asking, but anybody on council able to have time then?
Mayor Manzer, I actually spoke to them as well. They email me every year. I could probably meet with them.
Okay. So admin would let the group know that, Deputy Mayor Shannon would possibly meet with them, depending on which day they actually want. Great, okay, what else did we know, or I noticed here? The town of Peace River received a letter from Minister McIver on LGFF funding. So told us what we're going to be receiving for this coming year. And it's one of those things where it's, we're starting to know sort of, I believe, 3 years in the future as to what our possible funding from those types of things would be. I wanted to highlight that the Pride Society also wrote a letter, and their letter requested, I think it was 2 things. One, that the town proclaim June 9th through June 15th to be Pride Week in the town of Peace River. They requested that the Pride flag be raised on Monday, and it was, and the town has done this before. So those 2 things were accomplished. And they also, I don't see if they requested I don't see it in this letter, but I know they sent it someplace. At some point, we have received an email asking for the town's permission for the Pride group to paint a crosswalk someplace in town, and I think maybe admin was investigating this a little bit. In the past, as part of our Truth and Reconciliation, we have an Indigenous crosswalk that's painted near the Five Flag area. Basically, it was painted on a street that there's not much traffic on, so the paints last longer, but they have refreshed the paint at least once. In the past, there was a group that also painted a Pride crosswalk near ATB, but that wore off, and they are again requesting this. So what do we do? There is no policy, I don't think, at this point. Yes.
Your worship, we are bringing forward a policy for council's consideration. Anticipated will be on the next agenda or the one after that for sure.
Okay, so the response to them at this point in time is we're waiting for the.
Yes, we've communicated with them that we're just bringing a policy forward for guidance on this one and for future, and we didn't hear any feedback otherwise.
Okay, good.
Excuse me, Mayor Manzer,
Yeah.
should we have a motion to say the council's response is that that it has been brought back for policy, brought back to our council agenda at the next meeting? Because I think that gives you the authority to speak to that as a decision of council. So I would make that motion. I'm not sure, Kayla, if you can help me word that.
Sorry, so you just want to move that,
Use your mic.
oh, sorry. Just, you want to just move that, council has directed administration to bring a crosswalk painting policy forward prior to responding to the request of the Pride Society?
That's correct, prior to responding.
Prior to responding, or are you responding that we're bringing policy forward?
Well, we're responding that we're bringing the policy forward, but also that in my motion would be to not make a decision until we had that policy clarified.
Okay, so my understanding of the motion is there would be a letter of response to the Pride Society indicating that a policy is forthcoming, at which point council would be able to respond to their request. Okay, that's okay. We have a motion in front of us. Would any further discussion on that motion? Everybody's clear on it? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
I'm in favor.
I voted, right?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, it is, the motion was passed. One other thing I noted, Well, the traditional powwow invitation is, it's already, we got invited, we went. BC Hydro is still indicating that they're planning on filling their, Site C dam this coming, fall. So they will be in, direct correspondence with, I guess, the Alberta government and perhaps our, admin as well. Anything further on that particular, Councillor Ford?
Yes, I just wanted to highlight the letter of thanks to Mayor Manzer, and I know it was CAO Miller's idea that we have a town staff attend the RCMP Advisory Committee meetings for recording minutes, and there's a heartfelt gratitude letter from our RCMP Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Okay, any others that somebody wanted to highlight? Okay, also within the package, we have the June 3rd, 2024 Governance and Priorities Committee meeting minutes draft. So we would be looking at those for information. And if someone would like to move that items 10.1 and 10.2 be accepted for information, that would be great.
I'll move that council accept items 10.1 and 10.2 for information.
Thank you. All those in favor of Councillor Scammerhorn's motion?
Aye.
In favor.
It is carried. Do we have any notices of motions?
None, your worship, thanks.
Thank you. Comments from the public? No one is in the audience today. Key communication items. Council, what would you propose? Our reserve policy. And finalize the appointments of two development officers. Anything further? Councilor Good?
Yeah, I'd like to see some mention of the IT improvements that have been made
Yeah, 19
and
improvements.
the work that was put into it.
Mhm. Any others?
Yeah.
Councilor Carr?
I'd like to see the appointment of the two individuals for the retention, the medical retention or whatever.
Okay. Two appointments to the Healthcare Attraction Retention Committee.
That's it.
There we go. Anything further? Councilor Ford?
Yeah, I'd like to make note of the notice of motion that, that way it gets out there that, the public is seriously, or that council is seriously looking into, the public safety concerns that our residents and businesses have.
Okay, so the notice of motion. Information on that. Good. Any others?
I'd just like to bring up, so somebody made like a cheeky pothole post the other day and it was a good time. I had a very good laugh over it, kind of thing. But in the comments, somebody of course actually was, complaining as opposed to having a laugh and even members of the public were like, well, look, they're, like with how, debt is being paid off and just mention about how the finance situation has changed, since under, Director Mugford. So I think it's just important to point out that, these things like the reserve policy and some of these other stuff that seem quite dry and boring maybe to a lot of people, that stuff is getting noticed. And that good things are happening in the finance world here at the town. So it's making a difference. So bouquet.
Okay. We'll calculate that. We're having quite a list here tonight.
Yeah. Sorry, if we're giving kudos, I think I think it should go on the record that the comments that were received at the FCM conference regarding Stuart's work on communications. We had people from multiple municipalities and multiple levels of government talk about Peace River's communications and the things that they're seeing in the stuff that's going out to the public. Along with, I think, a number of us on council have had comments from the public about the increased level of communication and the work that's being done. And I think a lot of that goes to administration as a whole and Stuart specifically. So I just wanted to make sure that that's addressed. With thanks.
Great. Well, and it's helpful, I'm sure that admin has to fork the information to Stuart at times so that he can, and probably in quite a timely manner to get it out there, which is helpful.
When he's in public.
So, thank you, admin, and including Stuart for all of that. Okay, so we've got quite a few highlights there. And now perhaps we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll be back and go into closed session. So we'll be back here at 5:50.
5:50, 10 minutes.
Unfortunate.
Oh, that's the one thing I noticed is I was